Have you ever looked at your to-do list and felt completely paralyzed? You wake up every morning with massive goals. You sit at your desk, open your laptop, you check your email just for a second. You scroll through social media to clear your head. You spend hours doing tiny, meaningless tasks, convincing yourself that you are actually working hard. But by the time the sun goes down, that one huge, critical project is still sitting there, untouched, and you are left with nothing but deep, suffocating guilt. But what if I told you the true secret to building a seven-figure empire or skyrocketing your career has absolutely nothing to do with being busy? The truth is, you don't lack time, you lack focus. More than 100 years ago, the legendary American writer Mark Twain revealed a brutal truth about human psychology. He said, if it's your job to eat a live frog, it's best to do it first thing in the morning. And if you have to eat 2 frogs, eat the biggest, ugliest one first. That frog is your biggest, most important task. The one task that can completely change your destiny, but also the exact one you are most likely to run away from. We are going to decode the psychological framework used by the top 1% to completely obliterate procrastination. Let's eat that frog. Welcome to the Upgraded Mind. I am going to decode this book so deeply and perfectly that you will never need to read it or watch another summary ever again. Chapter 1. Set the table. Why do we constantly run away from our most important work? Most people think they are just lazy, or that they don't have enough willpower. But behavioral psychology reveals a fascinating truth. Procrastination is almost never about laziness. It is about a lack of clarity. Your brain naturally rejects confusion. When you wake up and tell yourself, I need to make more money, or I need to grow my business, your brain panics. Those instructions are completely vague. They offer no clear path. So, to protect you from that mental stress, your brain immediately distracts you with something easy and familiar, like checking emails or scrolling your phone. If you want to break this paralyzing loop, you must master the ultimate weapon of elite performers, absolute clarity. You have to set the table. Brian Tracy reveals that the top 1% of successful people share one highly specific habit. They think on paper. When your goals are just floating around inside your head, they are completely useless. They are just wishes, clouded by daily distractions. But the exact second you write a goal down on a physical piece of paper, you drag it out of your imagination and force it into reality. You give your subconscious mind a crystal clear target. To make this happen, you must deploy a ruthless 7-step formula. First, decide exactly what you want. Be incredibly specific. Second, write it down. Third, set a hard deadline. A goal without a deadline is just a bullet with no gunpowder. It holds zero urgency. Fourth, make a list of every single action you need to take to get there. Fifth, organize that list into a concrete plan, ordering tasks by what must happen first. Sixth, take action on your plan immediately. A messy start is 10,000 times better than a perfect plan that never gets executed. And seventh, make a strict vow to do something every single day that moves you one step closer to that goal. When you wake up with a written plan, your brain doesn't have to burn precious energy figuring out what to do. The friction disappears. Procrastination naturally suffocates. You stop being a victim of your mood, and you become a master of your execution. Clarity isn't just power. Clarity is the ultimate cure for procrastination. Chapter 2. Plan every day in advance. Have you ever had one of those days where you work constantly, running from one task to another, but at the end of the day, you feel like you accomplished absolutely nothing? This happens because you are operating on raw reaction. You are letting the world dictate your schedule, instead of dictating it yourself. Elite performers refuse to live this way. They know a profound psychological truth. Your mind cannot hold multiple thoughts and organize them at the exact same time. If you start your day without a written plan, you are essentially driving a car blindfolded. Brian Tracy introduces a foundational law of success, the 6P formula. Proper prior planning prevents poor performance. It sounds simple, but the return on investment is undeniable. The 10-90 rule states that the first 10% of time you spend planning and organizing your work will save you 90% of the time in execution. That means just 10 minutes of planning can save you nearly 2 hours of wasted effort. The most successful founders and investors don't rely on their memory. They operate strictly from lists. You need a master list for your major visions, a monthly list, a weekly list, and a daily action list. But here is the true psychological secret. You must write your daily list the night before. Why? Because while you are sleeping, your subconscious mind goes to work on that list all night long. It starts connecting dots, solving problems, and finding shortcuts while you rest. When you wake up the next morning, your brain is fully primed and completely ready to attack. And the exact moment you cross a finished task off that physical list, your brain releases a massive hit of dopamine. That tiny visual checkmark gives you a surge of energy and momentum, pushing you forward to eat the next frog. Never start your day until you have it fully mapped out on paper. Take absolute control of your tomorrow, tonight. Chapter 3. Apply the 80-20 rule to everything. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to work all day, yet achieve almost nothing? They are constantly rushing, completely stressed out, but their careers and bank accounts remain entirely stagnant. This happens because they are trapped in the greatest illusion of the modern world, confusing activity with accomplishment. More than 100 years ago, an Italian economist named Vilfredo Pareto discovered a fundamental law of the universe, the Pareto principle, widely known as the 80-20 rule. This rule dictates a brutal reality. 80% of your results will always come from just 20% of your actions. If you have a list of 10 tasks to do today, 2 of those items will turn out to be worth much more than the other 8 put together. This is exactly where the psychological trap snaps shut. The majority of people procrastinate on the top 20% of tasks that are the most valuable, the truly giant frogs, and instead busy themselves with the bottom 80%. They spend their days sorting papers, answering meaningless emails, and checking off tiny chores. They feel incredibly busy, but they are actually just hiding from the work that truly matters. The most valuable tasks you can do each day are almost always the hardest and most complex, but the payoff for completing them is absolutely tremendous. Before you begin any work, you must always ask yourself one brutal question. Is this task in the top 20% of my activities or in the bottom 80%? Never give in to the temptation to clear up the small things first. When you start your day doing low-value tasks, you train your brain to seek cheap dopamine. You build a dangerous habit of doing things that don't matter. Elite performers completely ignore the bottom 80%. They aggressively hunt down that one massive frog, that top 20% task, and they refuse to stop until it is completely devoured. Stop being busy and start being effective. Chapter 4. Consider the consequences. Have you ever wondered what truly separates the absolute elite from the rest of the crowd? It isn't just intelligence. It isn't just luck. A landmark study conducted at Harvard University by Dr. Edward Banfield sought to uncover the ultimate secret to upward financial mobility. He wanted to know why some people rise to extraordinary wealth and success, while others stay broke their entire lives. His conclusion was completely mind-blowing. The single most accurate predictor of success is what he called long-term time perspective. Elite performers, the most successful founders and leaders, they think 5, 10, even 20 years into the future, and they use that long-term vision to dictate their choices today. Average people operate on a completely different psychological wavelength. They are slaves to instant gratification. They only ask themselves, what will make me feel good right now? So they choose to hang out, scroll social media, or do easy, meaningless work. They aggressively avoid the big frogs because the big frogs are hard and uncomfortable to swallow today. But Brian Tracy reveals a harsh rule of reality. The potential consequences of any task or activity are the absolute key determinants of how important it really is. Before you start any task, you must stop and ask yourself one ruthless question. What are the potential consequences of doing or not doing this task? If a task has massive potential positive consequences for your future, it is a top priority frog. If skipping a task will result in massive negative consequences, that is also a giant frog. But if a task has zero impact on your future, whether you do it or not, you must ruthlessly ignore it. Your brain will always try to trick you into doing the easy things first. It wants the cheap dopamine hit of clearing a messy inbox or organizing your desk. You have to override that primitive wiring. You must become completely obsessed with the future impact of your daily actions. Motivation requires motive. When you clearly see the massive reward waiting for you in the future, the friction of getting started today simply vanishes. Stop trading what you want most for what you want right now. Design your long-term future and let it aggressively dictate your present. Chapter 5. Practice the ABCDE method continually. You finally wrote down your goals and you made a list for the day, but now you are staring at a massive wall of tasks, and that familiar anxiety starts creeping back in. Where do you even begin? If you just pick tasks at random, your brain will automatically select the easiest, most useless chores. To completely hack this psychological flaw, Brian Tracy introduces a ruthlessly effective prioritization technique, the ABCDE method. Before you take action on a single item, you must grade every task on your list. Place an A next to your absolute must-do tasks. These are the massive, ugly frogs. If you fail to do an A task, you will face severe consequences in your career or your business. If you have more than one, grade them A1, A2, and A3. Your A1 task is the single most important thing you can do today. Next, place a B next to the tasks you should do. These are the tadpoles. There are mild consequences if you ignore them. Maybe someone gets slightly annoyed, but it won't destroy your future. The unbreakable rule of elite productivity is this: never ever work on a B task when an A task is left undone. Next, mark a C next to things that are nice to do, like having a long lunch with a coworker or checking personal messages. They have absolutely zero consequence on your ultimate success. Then comes D for delegate. You must delegate everything you possibly can to free up your bandwidth for those massive A tasks. Finally, the E tasks. E stands for eliminate. These are the habits and time wasters that you must ruthlessly cut out of your life completely. The difference between a billionaire and an average worker isn't the number of hours in a day. It is the absolute, ironclad discipline to ignore the C's and E's and focus entirely on the A1 frog. Grade your list right now. Find your A1 frog and do not stop until it is completely devoured. Chapter 6. Focus on key result areas. Why do we consistently procrastinate on specific tasks while we crush others with ease? It isn't random. Behavioral psychology tells us that human beings naturally avoid things where they feel incompetent. We run away from our weakest links. In the corporate world and in building an empire, this is a fatal flaw. Brian Tracy explains that every single job and every business can be broken down into 5 to 7 key result areas. These are your KRAs. These are the absolute critical responsibilities that you must deliver, or you fail. Think of it like the vital organs of your body. If one shuts down, the entire system collapses. Here is the brutal truth that most people refuse to face. Your weakest key result area dictates the exact height of your ultimate success. You could be a world-class genius at 6 of your KRAs, but if you are terrible at the 7th, that one weakness will completely throttle your progress. It will become your massive, terrifying frog. We procrastinate exactly where we feel weak. Take a modern digital creator, for example. You could be a world-class video editor and a brilliant storyteller. But if your thumbnail design is terrible, that one single weakness will completely throttle your channel's growth. Your masterpiece will sit there with 0 views. To hack this, you must take absolute inventory of your skills. Write down your top KRAs right now. Grade yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in each area. Once you spot that lowest number, your weakest link, you must attack it with everything you have. Do not hide from it. The moment you decide to master that one specific weakness, the massive mental friction disappears. You stop procrastinating because you no longer fear the task. Elite performers never hide their flaws. They hunt them down and turn them into their absolute greatest weapons. Chapter 7. Obey the law of forced efficiency. Have you ever caught yourself saying, "I just don't have enough time"? We are all drowning in an endless ocean of tasks, emails, and responsibilities. You work frantically, trying to clear the deck, believing that if you just hustle a little harder, you will finally catch up. But here is the brutal, psychological truth. You will never catch up. The average person today has hundreds of hours of unfinished work stacked up. Your brain looks at this overwhelming mountain, panics, and tricks you into doing the tiny, useless tasks just to feel a false sense of progress. To completely destroy this trap, Brian Tracy introduces the law of forced efficiency. This law states an undeniable reality. There is never enough time to do everything, but there is always enough time to do the most important thing. When you are pushed completely to the wall and a massive deadline is looming, you suddenly become a hyper-focused machine. You completely ignore the distractions and get the critical work done. Elite performers don't wait for an external crisis to force their focus. They engineer this forced efficiency themselves. They ask themselves 3 ruthless questions every single day. First, what are my highest value activities? Second, what can I, and only I, do that, if done well, will make a massive difference? And third, what is the most valuable use of my time right now? Whatever the answer is to that final question, that is your ultimate frog. The exact second you accept that you cannot do it all, you free yourself from the anxiety of the endless to-do list. Stop trying to clear the deck. Let the small things pile up and force every ounce of your energy onto the one task that actually changes your destiny. Chapter 8. Prepare thoroughly before you begin. Have you ever sat down to tackle a massive project, only to realize you left a crucial file in the other room? You get up to grab it. You notice your phone on the counter. You check one quick message, and suddenly 45 minutes have completely vanished. Our brain constantly hunts for any excuse to escape the friction of hard work. Every time you have to stop and search for a missing tool, you completely shatter your momentum. To seal off these escape routes, Brian Tracy insists that you must prepare thoroughly before you begin. In the culinary world, elite chefs call this mise en place, which means everything in its place. Before they ever turn on the stove, every single ingredient is chopped, measured, and laid out perfectly in front of them. They do this because when the heat is on, there is absolutely zero time to think or search. You must treat your workspace with that exact same level of relentless respect. Before you attack your biggest frog, you must clear your desk completely. Gather every single report, every piece of data, and every tool you need, and put them right at your fingertips. Set up your environment so that it is physically impossible to get distracted by missing pieces. When you prepare your workspace flawlessly, you eliminate the activation energy required to get started. You build a clear psychological runway for your brain. When you finally sit down, there is absolutely nothing left to do but execute. Stop using a messy workspace as a hidden excuse for your procrastination. Clear your desk, prepare your weapons, and launch your attack without a single hesitation. Chapter 9. Do your homework. Have you ever noticed that you naturally avoid certain tasks? Not because you don't have the time, but because deep down, you feel like you aren't good enough at them? This is a massive, hidden trigger for procrastination. Your brain is heavily wired to protect your ego. When it senses that you lack the skill to execute a massive project, it aggressively pulls you away to save you from the pain of failure. It tricks you into delaying the work. Brian Tracy reveals a fundamental rule of success. Upgrading your key skills is one of the most powerful personal productivity techniques in the world. The better you get at eating a specific type of frog, the more likely you are to just dive in and get it done. Elite performers refuse to let their skills stagnate. They are completely obsessed with continuous learning. If there is one single skill that is holding you back from doubling your income or accelerating your business, you must hunt it down and master it. Read in your field for at least 1 hour every single day. Take every course you can find. Listen to audio programs while you commute or work out. When you upgrade your knowledge, you don't just gain information. You completely rewire your self-image. You build absolute confidence. And when you are highly competent, the mental friction of getting started simply vanishes. Stop hiding from the tasks that intimidate you. Do your homework, sharpen your weapons, and make yourself completely unstoppable. Chapter 10. Leverage your special talents. Have you ever watched someone execute a massive, complex task with absolute ease while you struggle just to get started on the exact same thing? We constantly beat ourselves up, thinking we lack discipline or willpower. But we completely ignore a massive biological truth. You are hardwired with a highly unique combination of skills, experiences, and natural abilities. Brian Tracy reveals that your ability to identify and leverage your special talents is one of the absolute greatest weapons you have against procrastination. Average people spend their entire lives obsessing over their weaknesses. They burn massive amounts of mental energy trying to be decent at tasks they naturally despise. And because their brain hates the work, it aggressively pushes them toward procrastination. Elite performers operate completely differently. They ruthlessly audit their own abilities. They ask themselves, what is the one thing I do absolutely better than anyone else? What is that one specific frog that if I eat it completely, delivers the highest possible value to my ultimate goal? When you align your daily execution with your natural talents, the crushing mental friction simply vanishes. The work stops feeling like a grueling grind and morphs into a state of absolute flow. Stop wasting your precious time trying to be good at everything. Hunt down your unique superpower, double down on it, and leverage it to completely dominate your field. Chapter 11. Identify your key constraints. Have you ever felt like you are pushing the gas pedal all the way to the floor, but your career or your business is barely moving forward? You are working late, sacrificing your weekends, but you still feel completely stuck in the exact same place. When this happens, our brain naturally hunts for a scapegoat. We blame the economy, we blame our boss, we blame the market. But behavioral psychology and systems theory reveal a deeply uncomfortable truth. Brian Tracy introduces the concept of the choke point, or the key constraint. In any complex system, whether it is a billion-dollar manufacturing plant or your own personal journey to wealth, there is always one single bottleneck that dictates the absolute speed of the entire operation. Imagine a massive, state-of-the-art assembly line designed to build elite sports cars. Every single machine on that line can process 100 parts an hour, except for one machine, which can only process 10. What is the maximum speed of that entire massive factory? It is exactly 10, no matter how aggressively the other machines work. That one single bottleneck caps the entire output. The exact same rule applies to a modern digital business. Your marketing might be world-class, bringing in thousands of clicks and orders. But if your delivery system or customer service is painfully slow, that single bottleneck chokes your entire revenue stream. Your life and your goals operate on this exact same law. There is always one key constraint, one massive frog standing directly between you and your ultimate target. And here is the absolute most brutal part of this reality. The 80-20 rule applies here too. 80% of the constraints holding you back are completely internal. They reside entirely within you. They are your own lack of a specific skill, your own limiting beliefs, or your own destructive habits. Only 20% are actually external forces. But our ego refuses to accept this. It protects our self-esteem by forcing us to look outside and play the victim. Elite performers completely bypass this ego trap. They sit down in complete silence and ask themselves one ruthless, highly uncomfortable question. What is it in me that is holding me back? They aggressively hunt down their own internal bottleneck. If you want to completely obliterate your procrastination, you must identify your single biggest constraint today. What is the one skill or the one fear that is acting as your choke point? Locate it, drag it into the light, and attack it with absolutely everything you have. When you finally break that primary constraint, you don't just take a small step forward. You unleash a massive, unstoppable explosion of progress. Chapter 12. Take it one oil barrel at a time. Have you ever stared at a daunting, months-long project and felt a crushing weight in your chest? Your brain looks at the sheer scale of the work, the endless hours, the massive complexity, and it completely shuts down. In neuroscience, this is your amygdala going into absolute overdrive. It perceives that giant task as a literal threat to your mental energy and survival. To protect you from that overwhelming stress, it forces you to freeze. It pushes you straight into the arms of procrastination. But Brian Tracy reveals a legendary strategy to completely short-circuit this panic response. He shares the remarkable story of crossing the heart of the Sahara Desert, a vast, deadly wasteland stretching for 500 miles. For years, travelers would lose their way in the blinding, featureless sand and die. To solve this, the French engineered a brilliant, life-saving system. They painted 55-gallon oil barrels completely black and placed them exactly 5 kilometers apart across the entire desert. Because the desert is totally flat, 5 kilometers happens to be the exact curvature of the earth. This meant that wherever a traveler stood in that deadly wasteland, they could only see exactly 2 barrels, the one they had just passed and the one sitting exactly 5 kilometers ahead. The travelers didn't need to see the entire 500-mile desert to survive. They only needed to focus their entire existence on reaching the very next oil barrel. This is the exact psychological secret used by elite founders and world-class investors to build massive empires. They know that if they stare at the colossal size of their ultimate goal every single day, they will paralyze themselves with anxiety. So, they completely blindfold themselves to the massive distance ahead. They break their biggest, ugliest frog down into tiny, manageable bites. They don't try to conquer the entire industry in one day. They just write the next line of code. They make the next single sales call. They draft the next page of the pitch deck. They take it one oil barrel at a time. If you are paralyzed by a massive project right now, stop obsessing over the top of the mountain. Lower your eyes. Lock your absolute focus onto the very next physical step in front of you. When you force your brain to focus only on the next barrel, the fear completely vanishes. Step by step, you eventually look up and realize you have conquered the desert. Chapter 13. Put the pressure on yourself. Have you ever noticed how fast you move when a massive deadline is suddenly dropped in your lap? When your boss demands a report by 5 p.m., or when an investor needs a pitch deck by morning, you suddenly find a way to execute. All your procrastination instantly vanishes. But when nobody is watching, and there is zero immediate consequence, you easily waste hours scrolling through your phone. This is a massive flaw in human psychology. Our brain is deeply wired to conserve energy. Unless there is an external threat or severe pressure, it will always default to the path of absolute least resistance. It wants comfort. Brian Tracy reveals a brutal reality. Only about 2% of people can work entirely without supervision. We call them leaders. The other 98% are waiting for someone else to tell them what to do, and to force them to do it. If you want to step into that elite 2%, you must completely destroy your reliance on outside pressure. You cannot wait for a crisis to force you into action. You must learn to put the pressure completely on yourself. Elite founders and world-class creators operate on a completely different standard. They don't have a boss screaming at them to wake up early or to make those extra sales calls. They engineer their own massive internal pressure. They set imaginary deadlines for themselves that are far tighter than any client would ever demand. They hold themselves to a standard of excellence that is almost completely unreasonable to an average person. To hack this psychological loop, you must become your own harshest critic and your own ultimate driver. Pick your biggest frog for today and set a ruthless, ticking clock for yourself. Tell yourself that you only have exactly 2 hours to finish it, even if it is due next week. When you manufacture your own urgency, you spark a massive release of adrenaline and dopamine in your brain. You force yourself into a high-performance flow state without needing an external crisis. Stop waiting for the world to push you. Step up, apply the pressure yourself, and take absolute command of your destiny. Chapter 14. Maximize your personal powers. Have you ever stared at your computer screen at 3 in the afternoon, knowing exactly what you need to do, but your brain completely refuses to fire? You read the same sentence 5 times, but nothing registers. We usually blame this on a lack of willpower or sudden laziness. But neuroscience tells a completely different story. Willpower is not just a mental concept. It is a finite, biological resource. Every single time you make a micro decision, deal with a distraction, or force yourself to focus, your cognitive battery slowly drains. In psychology, this is called decision fatigue. By the time the afternoon rolls around, your brain is biologically exhausted, and to protect itself from complete burnout, it aggressively pushes you toward the absolute easiest tasks, like scrolling social media or endlessly checking your inbox. Procrastination isn't always a time management problem. It is very often an energy management problem. Brian Tracy reveals a fundamental law of productivity. Your physical and mental energy are the ultimate engines of your success. If your battery is dead, you cannot possibly eat the frog. The absolute most elite founders and top-tier investors don't just manage their time, they ruthlessly manage their biology. They understand their circadian rhythms. They know exactly when their mental peak occurs. For most highly successful people, this peak happens first thing in the morning, after a deep night of rest. This is the exact window when your willpower and focus are at their absolute maximum. This is exactly why you must tackle your biggest, ugliest frog the second you start your day. If you leave your most critical task for the late afternoon, you are sending an exhausted, depleted soldier into a massive war. You will lose, and you will procrastinate. To defend this energy, you must treat your body like an elite, high-performance machine. You have to prioritize your sleep. You have to fuel yourself with clean energy, and you must take deliberate, strategic breaks to recharge your cognitive battery. Stop trying to hustle through pure exhaustion. Honor your biology. Discover your peak energy window. Protect it with your life, and use that explosive momentum to completely obliterate your biggest goals. Chapter 15. Motivate yourself into action. Have you ever listened closely to the voice inside your head? The one that whispers to you when you are staring at a massive, intimidating project? For most people, that voice is a relentless, ruthless critic. It tells you that you are too tired, that the market is too tough, or that you just aren't smart enough to pull it off. And the exact second you accept that negative narrative, your nervous system completely shuts down. You lose all drive, and you slide right back into procrastination. In cognitive psychology, this is the foundational loop of human behavior. Your thoughts dictate your emotions, and your emotions dictate your absolute capacity to take action. Brian Tracy reveals a staggering psychological truth. Fully 95% of your emotions are determined entirely by the way you talk to yourself minute by minute. You are the absolute master of your own internal universe, but average people let their external environment dictate their internal mood. If a client says no, or a business deal falls through, they spiral into negativity and completely paralyze their own execution. Elite founders and world-class investors refuse to surrender their mindset to outside forces. They engineer their own motivation. They practice a highly specific psychological trait known as unshakable optimism. They don't indulge in cheap, fluffy positivity. Instead, they become violently solution-oriented. When a massive crisis hits, they don't waste a single ounce of mental energy complaining about the problem. They immediately lock their entire focus onto the fix. They treat every single failure not as a defeat, but as a highly valuable, expensive lesson sent specifically to sharpen their edge. If you want to conquer your biggest frogs, you must become your own ultimate cheerleader. You have to actively hijack your inner dialogue. When the pressure mounts, you must feed your brain commands of absolute confidence. Stop letting a weak inner critic dictate your destiny. Take the microphone, completely rewrite the script in your head, and motivate yourself into unstoppable action. Chapter 16. Practice creative procrastination. Have you ever been told that procrastination is the ultimate enemy of success? That you must eradicate it completely from your life if you want to build a massive empire? Society feeds us this lie, making us feel guilty every single time we delay a task. But behavioral psychology and elite productivity completely flip this narrative. Brian Tracy reveals a deeply uncomfortable yet entirely liberating truth. You cannot possibly do everything on your list. You are going to procrastinate no matter what. So, the true secret to absolute success isn't about stopping procrastination. It is about completely mastering it. This is the art of creative procrastination. The psychological divide between an average worker and a world-class founder is remarkably simple. Average people unconsciously procrastinate on their biggest, ugliest frogs. They delay the exact tasks that could change their destiny, and instead busy themselves with trivial chores. Elite performers operate on a completely different wavelength. They deliberately and consciously choose to procrastinate on the small stuff. They look at the low-value tasks, the meaningless emails, the endless meetings, and they actively decide to ignore them. They use the word no as a lethal weapon to protect their time. Your energy is a strictly finite resource. If you want to conquer that massive, life-changing goal, you must aggressively abandon the tasks that simply do not matter. You have to starve your distractions to feed your ultimate focus. Stop trying to do it all. Review your list today. Identify the bottom 80% and creatively procrastinate on those items forever, so you can pour every single ounce of your energy into devouring your biggest frog. Chapter 17. Do the most difficult task first. Have you ever noticed how a single heavy task hanging over your head can completely ruin your entire day? You wake up and instantly remember that one massive project you have been avoiding. Even when you are drinking your morning coffee or trying to relax, that task sits in your subconscious mind like a dark cloud. It quietly drains your energy and kills your confidence. But what happens the exact moment you finally step up and finish it? A massive weight lifts off your chest. Brian Tracy reveals the absolute core philosophy of this entire book right here. You must do the most difficult task first. No excuses, no delays. The absolute first thing in the morning. We already know that your willpower battery is fully charged when you wake up, but the true secret lies in the neurochemistry of your brain. When you dive directly into your hardest task and successfully complete it, your brain unleashes a massive flood of endorphins and dopamine. You experience a biological phenomenon, a literal high of accomplishment. You feel victorious. You feel completely unstoppable. That massive surge of positive energy violently propels you through the rest of your day. Average people wake up and immediately surrender to cheap dopamine. They check their phones. They answer a few useless emails. They waste their peak cognitive window on absolute trivialities. And by the time they try to tackle the big task, their brain is completely fried and ready to procrastinate. The most elite founders and top-tier investors absolutely refuse to negotiate with themselves in the morning. They clear their workspace the night before. When the sun comes up, they sit down. They ignore the noise of the world, and they swallow the biggest, ugliest frog on their plate. Starting tomorrow morning, do not check your social media. Do not open your inbox. Take your A1 task, the most terrifying frog on your list, and launch a relentless attack until it is 100% finished. If you can forge this one single habit into your daily life, your ultimate success will become completely inevitable. Chapter 18. Slice and dice the task. Have you ever looked at a massive, multi-week project and felt completely paralyzed? Your brain visualizes the hundreds of hours required, the endless complexities, and it instantly triggers a threat response. It tells you that you don't have enough time today to make a real dent, so you might as well wait for the perfect moment to start. But elite performers know a massive psychological truth. The perfect moment never arrives. To destroy this paralysis, Brian Tracy introduces two incredibly powerful psychological hacks to completely dismantle your biggest frogs. The first is the salami slice method. You would never try to eat an entire roll of salami in one massive bite. You would choke. You eat it exactly one thin slice at a time. You must treat your massive projects the exact same way. Do not commit to writing the entire business plan today. Just commit to writing one single paragraph. Don't try to code the entire app today. Just build the login page. Don't sit down to edit a full 10-minute YouTube video. Just sync the audio and cut the dead space first. Lay out all the slices and just eat one. The second weapon is the Swiss cheese method. You completely bypass your brain's fear of the outcome by punching a hole in the task. You make a ruthless agreement with yourself to work on the project for just 10 or maybe 20 minutes, and then you will stop. Why does this work so flawlessly? Because of a biological law deeply wired into human nature, the compulsion to closure. The human brain absolutely hates unfinished loops. The exact second you punch a hole in that task and take the first step, you generate momentum. You break the activation energy. You lower the mental friction so much that your brain naturally aches to keep going and finish the job. Stop waiting for a massive block of free time to magically appear. Take your absolute biggest project. Pull out your knife and slice off just one single piece today. Chapter 19. Create large chunks of time. Have you ever tried to dive into a massive project, but your day is constantly shattered into tiny, useless pieces? A quick meeting here, a sudden phone call there, a notification popping up on your screen every 15 minutes. You spend 10 hours at the office, but when you look back, you haven't done a single hour of deep, uninterrupted work. We assume this is just the reality of the modern corporate world. But neuroscience reveals a highly destructive cognitive cost to this fragmented schedule. It takes the human brain roughly 20 minutes of intense focus just to enter a state of flow, that peak neurological zone where your highest quality work is actually produced. But if you allow yourself to be interrupted every 10 minutes, you are constantly resetting that clock. You never actually reach the zone. You spend your entire day trapped in the shallow waters of distraction. Brian Tracy introduces a massive strategy to completely override this modern trap. You must consciously create large chunks of time. Elite founders and world-class creators do not leave their schedules to chance. They do not work in random 10-minute bursts. They engineer massive, unbreakable blocks of time into their calendars. They block out 60, 90, or even 120 straight minutes of absolute monk-like focus. And they treat that time block exactly like a meeting with a high-stakes investor. It is sacred. They turn off their phones, they shut their doors, they completely disconnect from the noise of the world. To devour your biggest frog, you need sustained, aggressive momentum. Take a brutal look at your calendar today. Stop letting other people chop your day into pieces. Engineer just one massive 90-minute time block for tomorrow morning, lock yourself in, and watch how much absolute power you can unleash when your brain is finally allowed to focus. Chapter 20. Develop a sense of urgency. Have you ever caught yourself waiting for the absolute perfect moment to start? You tell yourself that you will launch the business when the market improves, or you will start the project when you feel a little more rested. We constantly fool ourselves into believing that conditions will eventually be perfect. But behavioral psychology reveals a massive, highly destructive trap. The perfect time never comes. While you are sitting around waiting for inspiration to strike, someone else with half your talent is already out there executing. Brian Tracy reveals the ultimate hallmark of elite performers. They possess a massive, burning sense of urgency. They have a ruthless bias for action. Average people are completely passive. They talk about what they are going to do someday. But top-tier founders and world-class investors don't wait for external pressure. They engineer an internal tempo that borders on absolute impatience. When you execute tasks with a massive sense of urgency, you trigger a biological chain reaction in your brain. You step into a psychological state known as flow. The faster you move, the more energy you generate, and the more effortless the work actually becomes. You completely outrun your own inner critic. If you want to swallow your biggest frogs, you must completely destroy the illusion of someday. You have to train your brain to hear the clock ticking. The exact second you decide what your A1 task is, do not hesitate. Say the words, do it now out loud to yourself over and over again. Stop overthinking, stop planning. Spark that massive momentum and launch yourself into unstoppable action today. Chapter 21. Single-handle every task. Have you ever started a massive project, worked on it for 10 minutes, and then put it down to answer a quick message? You tell yourself that you will jump right back in. But neuroscience reveals a highly destructive cognitive trap. Multitasking is a complete biological myth. Your brain cannot process two complex tasks at the exact same time. It rapidly switches back and forth, and every single time you switch, you suffer from a massive mental tax called attention residue. It takes massive amounts of cognitive energy just to reload the context of the work you left behind. Brian Tracy reveals the absolute final and most lethal weapon against procrastination. It is called single-handling. It means that once you pick up your biggest, ugliest frog, you refuse to put it down until it is 100% devoured. By starting and stopping a task over and over again, you can increase the time it takes to finish by up to 500%. You are literally burning your own time and destroying your own momentum. Elite performers completely reject the illusion of multitasking. They operate with absolute sniper-like focus. They clear all distractions, lock themselves in, and discipline their minds to stay on that one single task until the job is completely finished. This requires a staggering amount of self-discipline, but it is the ultimate dividing line between average workers and world-class founders. When you master the art of single-handling, your productivity will absolutely explode. We have completely decoded the psychology of focus. You now possess the exact 21-step blueprint to destroy procrastination forever. But remember, knowledge without aggressive execution is just cheap entertainment. Watching this video will not build your empire. The true transformation begins tomorrow morning. When you wake up, stare at your written list and refuse to negotiate with your own laziness. Pick your biggest, ugliest frog and eat it. Take absolute command of your focus and forge the ultimate destiny you deserve. Conclusion: the ultimate mastery of your destiny. You have now decoded the psychological framework of the top 1%. You hold the exact 21-step blueprint to completely obliterate procrastination from your life forever. But let's face a brutal, highly uncomfortable truth. All the knowledge in the world, every single book you read, and every video you watch is completely useless without aggressive execution. Knowledge is not power. It is only potential power. Execution is the ultimate separator. Average people love to collect information. They feel a fake sense of productivity just by listening to advice or learning a new system. But the exact moment this video ends, they will slide right back into their old, comfortable habits. Elite founders and world-class performers don't just consume, they act. They recognize that the true battle isn't fought in your imagination. It is fought tomorrow morning. When that alarm goes off, your primitive brain is going to beg for comfort. It will tell you to hit snooze, to check your phone, and to do the easy things first. That is the exact moment your destiny is forged. I am giving you one final massive challenge. Tonight, before your head hits the pillow, pull out a physical piece of paper. Write down your A1 task for tomorrow. Your biggest, ugliest frog. Clear your desk, set the table, and tomorrow morning, when the sun comes up, refuse to negotiate with your own laziness. Do not open your email. Do not check social media. Sit down, stare that massive frog dead in the eyes, and devour it completely. When you master the discipline of doing the hardest thing first, every single day, time becomes your ultimate weapon. Your ultimate success is no longer just a wish. It becomes a mathematical certainty. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Take absolute command of your focus. Build your empire and forge the destiny you truly deserve.